podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Hello dear listeners, welcome to an extra edition of Achtung Millwall. My name is Nick Hart. You are listening to the number one Millwall podcast, of course. Now this is an extra edition. A few moments have combined to make Monday with Merv into Tuesday with Merv. That's in a separate show to this particular edition. Normally I would include, after I've spoken to Merv, the remainder of the voicemails, which I'm actually going to do as a separate show on this occasion, because we had that fantastic interview with Femi Aziz. Do tune into that. Do have a listen to him. I think he comes over very, very well. Very intelligent boy, Femi. Great player and clearly an intelligent man. And do have a listen to that. It's on the previous edition of Tuesday with Merv. But this is the remainder of the voicemails. And this is, I recorded this yesterday with a levered-in crowbarred first message, which is from Lawrence Binney. We're going to open with Lawrence Binney, and then we'll go over to Martin Colwell.
Right, Nick, it's Lawrence Binney here calling in after the Leicester game on a Monday, so a bit later than usual. I don't mind. If you can't fit me in, that's fine. I kind of felt it might be an opportunity to talk maybe a little bit less about the game and our recent performances, which have been fantastic, and more about the new settlement at Millwall, the new baseline, if you will, which I think it will settle in if this run continues. We are not used to being third in the league. We're not used to winning 4 games in a row and being the team that everyone wants to catch. And with that, it brings a different set of expectations with our supporters. So I'm really intrigued to see how we follow up this run against a very out of form Birmingham side and an Oxford side that everyone expects to struggle, but who are managed by our former manager Gary Rowett, and everyone knows how he sets his sides up. For me, those 2 games are crucial. So there are 2 routes this can go. Like we have a sort of 4 to 6 point haul, and it's all aboard the promotion train. In which case, where did the fans' expectations lie? What does that look like at the Den when we're not performing, or if we have a tough game? How do the players respond to that? Or if we do the very Millwall thing and get 0 to 1 points, or maybe 2 points in those 2 games. How do we respond? How do we go from being third, looking like we could maybe reach the top 2 in a very poor league this year, to fighting it out for the playoffs again? It's a really tough league, the Championship, but I don't think you can take anything for granted. There's no game you can go in and expect to win 4 or 5-0. It's not like League One. There are no Gilliams or Swindons, or it's all wheat and no chaff. So I'm intrigued. I think we have the potential to go the whole way this season. Just looking at the layout of the squad and the excellent recruitment done to ensure that we have cover in every area. But I really hope that we don't become victims of our own expectations. Either way, what an exciting time to be a Mill fan. Long time coming. I can't remember being this excited about a season since 2001, 2002. So let's hope we keep it up. All right, cheers, Nick. Bye.
Hi, Nick. Martin Colwell here. Ringing in about our home win against Leicester City. God, that was a hard-fought match, wasn't it? I thought it was very scrappy. I don't think they're particularly good. I just think they were spraying the ball about, not particularly well, not with much direction, probably leaving some of their better players on the bench, and just, bothering us, but not really bothering us. I think we got a hold on the game as it went on, and I thought we deservedly took the lead. We really struggled up front though, didn't we? I thought Ivanovic was awful, truly awful, not just because of the penalty miss, but just because he was weak and insipid. And, I don't know why they didn't take the penalty, really. Femi Aziz should have took the penalty for winning it. We struggled, but we defended well. Again, Ryan Leonard's not my favourite because he had a pace, but I thought Ryan Leonard played really, really well. And Kramer was excellent. And Jake Cooper is playing better now. But in fact, the back five were all good. I thought Ballo didn't have a good game. And it was a bit of a downturn from in the week. I think we should have replaced him and Ivanovic earlier. I know we're struggling for centre forwards. And I think if something's going to do us until January comes and we can sign another centre forward, then that's going to be it, that we haven't got a centre forward up there who's doing the job we need them to do. But Femi Aziz was excellent again. Liked it that Billy Mitchell came on, although Casper and Del Boy did really well in the middle. The thing is, when we make subs, we bring in players on, and Billy Mitchell, great, just does the job. But Negley, he's good on the ball and he can be creative, but he doesn't get back. You see him jogging back, and when we come under that pressure, because if we've been 2-0 up, that's fine if Ivanovic or someone has scored a penalty. But when it doesn't happen, he jogs back and we get a bit caught in the middle, whereas the player that he replaced was getting back and doing the work, despite not having a great game. I thought Leicester just kept going onto the floor all the time. I thought there was far too much diving and making out they'd been injured, and they were taking knocks, but they were just saying, oh, someone's elbowed me. And I thought it was awful. And I thought QPR used to do this and they still do it, but this is a Cifuentes thing. It's hard to say that name, isn't it? But this is a thing he tells them to go down, and people rate this manager, but I don't. I don't rate him at all. And I think Leicester have made a mistake of pointing him. We got the job done in the end. And I think deservedly on effort, although it wasn't the greatest game in the world either. We're going into games away from home now that are going to be reasonably tough. I mean, Oxford are not a bad team, despite being down the bottom. And they've got Rowett as their manager, and he'll know what to do. I didn't look at the under-21s. I didn't know whether AJ Matthews was about, but perhaps we should have him on the bench and give him 20 minutes at the end. At least he'll go at them and run at them, rather than, Ivanovic, who just doesn't challenge and just looks weak. And I'm moaning at him, but I thought he was really poor yesterday. But yeah, there was a good atmosphere there. Helps to have an away support that were just moaning. They seemed to be desperate, the Leicester supporters. They kept appealing for penalties and everything, and they lost their voice, didn't they? Second half, and I don't see where Leicester are going myself. I don't think they're a credible challenger. Certainly not with this manager. But we're getting a bit short of players now, and I thought we were a bit obvious what we were trying to do. We've got to find Femi Aziz in space, and we've got to give him that chance to run at them and do something and pull players over, and then get forward to support him, because he is our goal scorer. We've struggled to score goals, and he is now our goal scorer. But without him scoring, then we could be back to the stage of struggling to score goals. But excellent effort yesterday. Excellent effort by the supporters as well. And we march on. Come on, you Lions.
Thank you, Martin. It's interesting, dear listeners, how games can appear differently to, people's individual perspectives. I mean, I always respect everyone that sends stuff into this show, and I respect the fact that Martin sends me voicemails. I'm not sure I found it such a scrappy game, Martin. There were moments. It was certainly a trench kind of backs to the wall performance, especially once we missed the penalty. I will accept that. And but I thought it was a defensive. Michael Avery on online called it a defensive masterclass, and I'm loving that term because I thought we defended really, really well. I don't think Leicester are no good. I thought they should probably be thinking of themselves as contenders for the top six. Certainly, I mean the top two may be slightly out of their reach, but they would certainly, having just not long come down from the Premier League, be wanting to put themselves in that contending category. So I thought, again, a bit like Stoke and I suppose QPR last week, really, these I think are not bad sides. I don't claim to be any kind of championship expert. I don't follow other clubs. I don't really watch them other than when Millwall facing them. But I think we've actually beaten three decent sides in a week by dint of hard work, tactics that look to some level get in the other side's face. I wouldn't say spoil the game, far from it. I think we're looking to actually move the ball fast. And with Femi Aziz on fire at the moment, certainly when he's in and around the goal scoring areas, he's always going to be dangerous. I thought the goal yesterday was another beautifully weighted pass forward from Casper De Nooy. Yesterday it was Billy on previous occasions, wasn't it? A ball forward to the man of the moment, Femi Aziz, who showed immense strength in holding him, the defender off. And to bury it, we were right above it in block one, and I thought it was a magnificent goal. It's interesting. I do agree that the squad will look a little bit thin if we get more injuries, and we've been blighted with injuries all season. So I'm with you there, Martin. I actually thought Ryan Leonard had a magnificent performance yesterday. And the whole defence I thought were locked tight, against a side that were desperate to claw their way back into the game. They were exploiting, what did old Mark Robbins call it, the dark arts. That's football nowadays. I mean, I don't particularly like it, but I'm not sure the 1970s or 80s were periods of the Corinthian fair play spirit. It's always been so. You get away with, and you bend the spirit of the game rules as far as you can possibly bend. That's sport, professional sport of all kinds, especially football. Ballo, I agree, was not as exciting to watch as he was on Tuesday night when I thought he was a revelation on Tuesday. He did a job. He did a good job. He does the work, as Martin said. Negley, he's not getting the game time minutes. There might be a reason for that. I think Alex Neil is no mug, and the fact he's being brought on late is possibly where he's at the moment, and he'll be wanting to change that. I think the spirit of this side and this squad at the moment is supreme. So yeah, there we go. I don't know enough about where AJ Matthews is as a possible replacement. I take your point about bringing him in. I suppose Macaulay Langstaff is just seen as the more experienced choice. But there we are. Big thank you, Martin. Thank you for that, mate. I appreciate your contact. We're going to listen now to Rob Woodford. Let's take a listen to Rob.
1-0 Millwall. Well, Nick, having ballers in our team was always in the past. Just the odd one or two, but we've got many more now. And whereas in the past our better players didn't always have the works ethics, well, they do now. We also have a great collective team spirit, and perhaps other technically gifted sides don't have. A real sense of we are in this together, the whole squad and the coaching staff, and that's priceless in a team game like football. So many contenders for man of the match: Femi, Ballo, Casper, Kramer, Zach. But a big shout out for for Luke Cundall. His work rate was exceptional, and he was buzzing all over the park. And there was no way he was going to last 90 minutes. Leicester are a decent side at this level, but at times found it difficult to get out with our high press, and they didn't like our physicality. And that really put them under pressure, especially in transition. That 4-0 home defeat seems a long way off now. And full credit to the gaffer. 4 games, 4 wins, 8 scored, 1 conceded. So I don't have anything in my diary for Saturday the 23rd of May 2026, just in case there's an event going on at Wembley. But let's keep it real for now, and let's just say we are a comfortable 14 points off the bottom three. A week to rest up before the next batch of 3 games in 8 days, and Oxford won't be easy. Our former manager will see to that. Come on, you Wall.
Spoken like a true Millwall fan there, Rob. Yeah, 14 points off relegation. Long season ahead of us, dear listeners. That was the 12th game of the campaign on Saturday. And as Rob just said there, we're off to Oxford. And I do agree. I think that Gary Rowett will desperately want to put one over on us. You always do, don't you? It's like checking up on your ex-girlfriend online or something. It's you want to be when you get you might have fond feelings, but you want to get one over on them when the opportunity arises. So there we are. I think it's going to be a tough trip to the Kassam Stadium. It's called, isn't it? Never an enjoyable day out. It's in the middle of nowhere, dear listeners. You have to park in some of we're not exactly in the dreaming spires of Oxford when we go to Oxford United, are we? The whole area is the best part is the leisure park next door to it, the shopping park. There we are. Team spirit and togetherness, Rob mentioned. I do agree with you, Rob. There was some wonderful camera work done by the media team on Saturday, including the mask slipping with Alex Neil and a big yes to the camera as he walked down the tunnel back to the dressing room, which is wonderful. It's gone down a storm online. One thing that Millwall fans want to see is, passion, not of this, what's his name, Nathan Jones at Palace, not all this jumping around, beating your chest like you're Guy the Gorilla. They want to see proper control, disciplined, but equally show your emotions when the moment comes. And Alex Neil, I think, as that went down very, very well with the Lions fans. Don't want to see him leaping around like, performative, like other managers do, but we do love to see that. And I do agree, incidentally, Rob, about Luke Cundle. He's the kind of player I think that can easily pass under the radar, as the expression has it. He did a lot of work on Saturday. It was a hard-fought game. I really enjoyed Saturday. And it's interesting listening to the earlier post from Martin. I thought it was a really enjoyable game, tense second half. I wonder whether it's my theory, dear listeners, and what do you think, that when you're actually at the game, the sensation is heightened. There's a heightened consciousness to go all 60s on you. All that kind of hippie kind of philosophy. There's heightened consciousness. I haven't dropped any LSD or anything like that. But when you're watching it on a screen, you are of necessity removed, and you can look at it with a more cool and neutral, dispassionate eye almost. I thought Saturday's game was magnificent showing personally, and I really, really felt the electricity in the den on Saturday. So a big thank you there to Rob. Michael Avery up next. I've mentioned him a couple of times. Just have a listen to the man himself. Michael, take it away, mate.
Back home from the den, dear listener, after a fantastic performance from Millwall. And, these cold and these darker evenings are certainly staying warm and bright that little bit longer, aren't they, after games like that? That's not just 3 goals against 2 sides who Stoke in and around the top 6. I think they went back up to third again today before we went back above them again. And Leicester, who were one of the favourites to win the league, we've made 2 good teams look very, very ordinary. Stoke were disappointing in the week, but I thought Leicester were actually quite good at times today, but we just dealt with them superbly. I mentioned on social media in the week on X that I thought it was the midfield that won the game for Millwall. I think today the midfield was superb. Excellent. Again, Aziz was a great threat. Ballo again. The midfield central areas, Casper Denor, take a bow. But for me, it was a defensive masterclass. We was never really backs against the wall or under any real pressure. But when you're limiting a team like Leicester to just 25, 30-yard hit and hope kind of shots, I don't really ever really remember them testing us majorly. I think that header towards the very, very end, I think it was either in stoppage time or just before stoppage time, which Krogan got down well to save, was brilliant. And I think that Alex Neil's really instilled that we can beat anyone mentality at the moment. You know, Neil Harris instilled that cup final football, as Nick always says, in the cup round, you know, but we can't play a league campaign like that. Gary Rowett brought in a mentality of we're hard to beat, we're hard to break down. Neil Harris, when he came back, brought back that little bit of mixture of the two. Difficult and tricky to beat. But again, we need that passion from cup final type games. Before the game kicked off today, I looked around and I spoke to a lot of people in the block around me, and I was like, "This feels like a big game." You know, this just the atmosphere's building, it's pumping. This is going to be a good game, good afternoon for Millwall, and we seem to thrive on it now. Whereas in the past, you know, you could argue we struggled to play at home under certain managers or anything like that. And even at the start of the season, you could say Alex Neil struggled to get the results at home and the performances. But I feel like we've turned a corner. You know, we're going away on the road and we're winning games. QPR is an example, but the Den's a fortress again, and the players obviously clearly love playing for the manager. The manager clearly loves being here, and we love him being here. So, you know, I think everyone played a part today, from the fans to the players, the management, all backroom staff, and even Mr. Den, who had a little shout out himself. So, fair play, Millwall Football Club. Buzzing, great week. I can't even say weekend, great week. It's been a fantastic week to be a Millwall fan. And I'll tell you what, long may it continue. Come on, you Lions.
Achtung, Millwall.
Wonderful stuff, Michael. Yeah, big shout out to Mr. Den. We haven't heard of him for a while, have we, Mr. Den? But he was certainly there yesterday. I think possibly in both sides of the ground. A Leicester fan got slung out, I think, because there was a lot of derision sent in that direction. I couldn't see where I sit. I have no view of the away fans. But certainly I think there was Mr. Den elsewhere. Anyway, big shout out to Mr. Den. Yes, it was a fantastic performance, Michael, and you know, I think as you've rightly put it, we've been making some decent sides look average. You know, Stoke, Leicester, QPR. These are all sides that have been West Brom that would expect to be contenders, and they've come down the Den and been sent home trouserless in a public place. So this is a tribute, and you're right to flag up Alex Neil, Michael, because he's the mastermind behind this, and I think, you know, the great hurdle of the Den has always been the big occasion, the pressure that comes onto players' shoulders. We've seen it under Gary Rowett, who rightly, in my opinion, gets acknowledged as one of our better managers, albeit with a style of football that wasn't to my taste particularly, wasn't to everyone's taste, but he got ourselves up the table. And we were in and around the action at the top end of the table for the most part. I mean, it was one season where it didn't work out so much, but that's a pretty big achievement by a manager that wasn't particularly loved at the Den. I do think that Alex Neil is building a side that will be loved because it's doing the work, it's doing the defensive stuff that we've all mentioned on these shows since Saturday, but it's also producing some flair. I mean, I go back to the first voicemail of today's show, Martin. I thought in places, in patches, some of the passing moves we were making and taking on, highly ambitious. Some of the best attempts at that kind of football I've seen in donkey's years. That's to be applauded. I've enjoyed going to watch Millwall these past, fortnight since the West Bromwich Albion game, including a trip to places like QPR, which is never a particularly, never a particularly enjoyable experience at the best of times. So no, I think it was a defensive masterclass. The midfield, the whole team. Ivanovic up front, he had a bad day on Saturday with that penalty miss, but the work he was doing, he's trying to take on, it's not his natural game, but he's putting the effort in. I think the boy needs support at a time like this, and I think he will get there because he's a good player. So big up to Mihailo. I'm going to take a very short advertising break now, and then I'll finish the voicemails with Bobby T, who sent me 5 voicemails. I'm going to play them all back to back, so stay tuned for Bobby T.
Achtung, Millwall.
Good morning, Nico. Bobby T on the Saturday morning. Oh, hello, Nick. How you doing, mate? I mean, yeah, I'm on the way to the Den now, bright and early. I got butterflies. I don't know about you. I mean, this is going to be a tough test for me, mate. I mean, we'll know by 10 to 5, right? If we're 3 in a row. I've never seen that happen I've seen it happen, but questions are before the game, and obviously, yeah, you're doing the podcast, you're doing the thingy, and I'm just not gonna. Do we bring Billy back? Sacco, Langstaff concussion. Sacco's had a blinding game. Do we bring Billy back? Mihailo and Langstaff up front. Doherty. Does he start? It's all we'll know by 10 to 5. And on the old podcast and all that, I did say 4-0 Wall. But I'll take 1-0 now, mate. I remember Ryan Longman, Leicester there. They used to be the champions. I mean, yeah, Nick Hart, Achtung Millwall. I mean, what a great... I mean, I love doing these voice notes. I mean, only for the reason because why you do it, Achtung Millwall. I mean, the food hub, the charity, how much you've raised, going to a good cause. Nick Hart, probably signing off. Not signing off. I'll give you my prediction. Not prediction. I'll give you my voice notes after the game. I mean, yeah, let's take a 1-0. It's going to be hard, but no one likes us, and enjoy the game. Bye for now, Bobby T. Nick Hart, Bobby T! Fucking where do I begin? Where the fuck did he get 6 minutes and then he plays fucking 97? All right, let me calm down. Man of the match, they said Aziz is his great finish on the half. I told you it'd be a tough game, Nick. I told you Premiership champions for a reason back in the day. We made it hard for ourselves. Ugly. No, I wouldn't say ugly win. Yeah, Aziz, he wasn't my man of the match personally. Tristan Crammer, and Cooper. Our whole back four was superb today. Absolutely sublime. But I'd give it to Crammer. Even Cooper, I've always held Cooper basketball player past their liability. But today, he gobbled up everything. And he was on a yellow card, the fucking giant. Crammer, immense. Sturridge, immense. Billy Mitchell, right, he comes on, one of our own, right, yeah. Before, sideways Bill. But you know what? He's a talent. He knows how to put his foot in at the right time. He's learnt, Billy. Billy's one of our own. Mihailo, I'll forgive you. I will forgive you, because if we'd drawn that game, did we deserve to win? Of course we deserved to win. We shut up shop, penalty and all that. Look, what a win. What a win. 2 back-to-back away games now. 3 in a row. Sacco, quality in midfield, gobbled up. Ballo, baller. Aziz, love ya. Easy. Mihailo, you led the line well. What more is there to fucking say, Nick? Achtung Millwall. What a win. Borough fucked up. On to the next 2 away games. We are going places. Bye for now, Bobby T. Love you. Millwall, till I die. Fuck 'em all. Leicester. Another manager second on the way. Bye for now, Bobby T. Millwall. Nick, Bobby T one more time. Bobby T again, one more time. You know what? Even like Oxford now, Birmingham away, it should be the same team as cameos on our bench. Our bench is fucking strong. Doherty can't even get the team. Yeah, Brian came on. Alex Neil is, he's got it up there, mate. Well, what a win today, but our bench was fucking strong, mate. That's what I think, coming on, okay, Nedgley, don't get me started. He comes in and out of games, yeah. Amako, yeah, is a talent, but yeah, Doherty wasn't even used today. But our bench is fucking strong. When have I ever said that? Our strong bench. Bye for now, Bobby T. On to Oxford.
Fantastic stuff from Mystic Bobby. 1-0 he called it, and that's 1-0 was what it was. Did we deserve to win? I think was one of your questions, Bobby. I thought we did. I didn't think that Leicester really threatened. There was that bicycle kick at the end, towards the end of the game, and they had a header which was directed straight at Crocombe. Incidentally, shout out to Max Crocombe, who looks very, very assured in that goalkeeping position now. And Stephen Bender, when he's fit, can only be second to Max Crocombe, in my opinion. Hopefully that's how Alex Neil sees it too, because I think we've just looked so reassured with Crocombe in defence. It's no secret, I think, that Bender didn't inspire that kind of confidence in the crowd. I can't believe he inspired reassurance amongst his back line in front of him. So Max Crocombe, hats off to you, mate. You look the part, and as a fan on the terraces in the seats nowadays, you can just tell when the goalkeeper looks the part. He does look the part. So big shout out to Max Crocombe. Also, Bobby mentions Mazu Sakon. I don't think I've mentioned him in this little sequence of voice notes. Yeah, what a find this boy is, listeners. What a find. Come from French lower level, I think he's second division level French football, and he's come straight into a championship level side and looks the part. He's almost gone in there like well, my feet in my socks this morning, listeners. Gone straight in, no problem, and he looks so comfortable. I think hats off to the recruitment team for the likes of Turno Ballo, the likes of Derek, the likes of Ivanovic up front. In fairness, I know he didn't have a great game Saturday, but as we've said in other shows, he's making strides. Some of the flicks and the ambition of the passing comes through Ivanovic up front, as well as the likes of Femi and Turno Ballo and Luke Kundle, etc. So there's some really good players in this side at the moment. 97 minutes, 7 minutes of added time Saturday. The referee was clearly a Leicester fan, dear listeners. That's all I can say. Bobby mentions the defence. We've mentioned the defence a good few times, but it was a brilliant showing by Tristan Kramer, who had been my contender for man of the match. But also I want to mention Jake Cooper, Ryan Leonard and Zach Sturge over on the left side, who looks an absolute natural in that position. So well done each and everyone, including Billy. Billy came into the game yesterday, and again, with Casper De Noor playing so well, we've got two brilliant midfielders there alongside Derek. So fantastic stuff. Now I'm going to have a quick review, dear listeners, of some of the comments that have been made on the Spotify. But only a few. I won't run through many, but just wanted to give a shout out to those who've left comments on the Spotify comments facility. Do leave comments. You can do it on YouTube. I think they allow comments too, as you can now on Spotify. So first up is Alexander Young, who leaves a message in the wake of the 2-0 win over Stoke City. Come on, you Lions, says Alexander. In Alex, I trust. Alex Neil, he trusts absolutely Alexander. What a manager. He's actually not that old. I think must have had a hard paper round up there in Scotland. I think he's in his early 40s, but he's very experienced. He's taken, was it Hamilton Academicals in Scotland? He turned them around on zero budget, and he's done well pretty much wherever he's gone. Promotions. I think we got really lucky to land him. I must admit, when he came into us, I was underwhelmed slightly, but then that shows all I know about football, listeners, because I think the proof of the pudding is always in the eating. So in Alexander Young Trust, big shout out to Alexander Young. Ian Tobin commenting on the retrospective show that I did. This was the famous 1999 nine kids win 2-0 over Stoke City in 1999. Ian Tobin says this was right in the era when I was Millwall obsessed. I got my first season ticket the previous season, so it'd be 98, and I would read the match day programme from cover to cover. Yeah, they can't do that anymore, Ian. It's a shame. I don't think the email quite works in the same way as a programme, physical programme, but there we are. I remember reading about our successful youth team and Phil Smith, who was the goalkeeper in this particular fixture, famous 2-0 win over Stoke City with 9 youngsters basically at that time. And Phil Smith was the keeper, getting rave reviews. It got out of my head completely. Ian, you've better memory than me. I had the same hope as I did with Ifill, Reed, Cahill. It never happened. Joe Dolan was another great prospect, cut short by injury. He was big boy Joe, but yeah, injury did for him. I was amazed how good he was. Great in the air with his feet, similar to John Terry. That's high praise there from Ian Tobin, and that relates to the retrospective show 2-0. I hope people enjoy those little retrospective shows. I try and keep them with a bit of variety, choosing different eras, and the book that Neil Fissler's done, the A to Z, which is always worth a look for any Millwall fan. There's the complete list of Millwall professionals since the Victorian times, and it's an exhaustive book. But it's really, really handy if you're doing these shows. Gives you a bit of background. Ian Tobin continues. He's talking about the more modern version, Millwall 2 Stoke 0, which was the midweek game, wasn't it? I said it before, and I'll say it again, says Ian. There is something not quite right with our medical team. It could prove costly. Injuries he's talking about, of course. The loss of Will Smallbone in the week? Or is the training ground stroke stadium built on an ancient burial ground? It's actually built, I believe, there was a church there that Phil Clark did some wonderful research a little while ago. It was on X. You have to go hunting for it. But he looked into the houses. There was some, I think Danny Baker mentions what became a bomb site area after the Second World War, and then gradually some of the houses were knocked down to create what was called Senegal Fields, which was a patch of grass where kids would go and kick footballs around. But there were a number of streets. Senegal Road was one of them, and Stockholm Road and others. I think, if I remember right, it was either one road was either called Aintree or Haydock Road. One of those is a northern race course type name. But there was a church there, so not an. I don't know, and you may be onto something there, Ian. Burial ground. I don't know about burial, but certainly there was a church on the site when it was cleared for the construction of the new den back in 1992-3. I lived in Bermondsey at that time, and I used to try and go running and things. I'd often run past the construction site when we were in the process of moving from Coldblow Lane to being newly built new den. Very exciting times back then, and it was just truly wonderful to watch the skeleton of the stadium. Is now so familiar to us, and it's aged, because this is what 1992 be what 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago now, isn't it? 34 years ago, nearly 33 years. But it was exciting to watch it, and I will never forget the jaw-dropping moment of awe when I first walked in there on the Sporting Lisbon opening night, dear listeners. I think it was just a sheer wonder that we had done this. It was the first newly built stadium since Highbury in London. I think other clubs, I think Scunthorpe were built like their kind of carpet warehouse style. There's others that have been built like that up north. But it was the first major new stadium to be built since the construction of Highbury in the pre-First World War era. So I still sometimes can't quite believe that we did it. But there we are. Maybe an ancient burial ground then in that case, Ian. Ian Tobin, big thank you. This is a message from the US fan that I stood next to, Josh Machado. Big shout out to you out there in Minnesota, Josh. He says, it was a pleasure to sit next to you and learn a bit about the club. Nick, you're a class act. That's very kind of you, Josh. Millwall has a fan in Minnesota for life. I think Josh was over for the American football, which I think was played at Tottenham, wasn't it? Was it the Minnesota Vikings? Can't remember who they played. But yeah, big shout out to, there were a lot of North American fans that weekend. The tourist market, listeners, is a big, big deal. And I want to say hats off. I know it's controversial. Day trippers often gets, as they're called online, they get a bit of a downbeat kind of press on online. But, it brings money in. The club shop check tills are turning. And it was a pleasure to speak to you too, Josh, and the Canadian guys that moved away from us. I don't know why. They did. There we go. One from Steve here. Big shout out to Steve. This is after the West Brom game, going back to the start of October here. Great show, Nick. What a turnaround from that Coventry game. That was the 0-4 shellacking, Steve, wasn't it? Yeah. I was getting worried for your heart. This was a 3-0 win over West Bromwich Albion. Yeah, I was too, Steve. I can't afford any more flutters. Well, I will be in the right place at the Den. I think there's a very good medical team there if I do keel over, listeners. So, if you're going to go, then you're going to go at the Den, I think. More fire in the bellies, but what we should be concerned is the goals didn't come from the strike force. I was asking, should we be concerned it didn't come from the strike force, or just basking the 3 points and goals? I mean, that continues to be the case in the sense that I suppose Femi Aziz is an attacking midfielder rather than a striker, isn't he? I think as long as the ball's going in the net, I think that would be my number one concern. Clearly, Ivanovic is lacking confidence at the moment, Steve. I think the miss of the penalty on Saturday shows, last season he was burying those, wasn't he? He's actually putting them away top right, top left-hand corner, no problem at all, with aplomb. But Saturday's effort was a bit insipid. It's a bit like I took a penalty. It would be similarly weak and lily-livered, and I think clearly the boy is in need of confidence. I think there's a lot to build on. I think he's a good player. He's working hard. He's trying to lay the ball off. He's getting involved in the little backheel flicks with the likes of Femi and Turno Ballo, players of quality and flamboyance. And I think there's a lot to build on there, but he does need to rebuild a little bit of his self-esteem, I suppose. That's too deep and heavy a word. I don't know. One last one. This is Terry Snow. This is from 5 weeks ago. So after my Wednesday with Merv voicemail show, 763. Terry Snow says, just catching up on the show, mate. The last time we were in a penalty shootout was also in the EFL Cup. This was after the Palace shootout against Oxford in 2019. We lost 4-2. The last time we won a penalty shootout, says Tel, was the season before versus Gillingham in the EFL Cup again, 14th of August 2018, and we won it 3-1. That was a poor showing by Gillingham, wasn't it? 3-1, blimey. We had another shootout that season where we lost 5-4 against Brighton after being, that was the FA Cup game, wasn't it? We lost 5-4 against Brighton, 17th of March 2019, after being 2-0 up after 79 minutes. So we'll never forget that. That was Dave Martin in goal, was it his name? The West Ham slag. There we are. Big thank you. Do keep the comments coming, listeners. Every so often I'll do a little catchy up with the comments. Big thank you to everyone that sends stuff in to the show. Big thank you to the email, to the voice note contributors. And big thank you to you two for listening into today's edition. So, till the next show, which will be after Oxford, I dare say. From me, Nick Hart. It's Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.
Achtung, Millwall.
Who do you want to watch?
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.